Most overhyped SEO trend in the AI era.
So many. I'm going to be controversial here, but the most underrated AI use case. It's not content analysis, but let me think about this.
On this episode, I'm joined by Darwin Santos, a technical SEO who's currently working on product growth and AI search at HubSpot. He coined the Great Decoupling, built the GSC Guardian tool, and previously worked as a technical SEO at Microsoft and Amsive. Enjoy today's episode. So for now, I'll just say thank you so much, Darwin, for joining me with this on this show. I'm very excited to have you here. I know that you've been in the SEO space now for over 10 years, and you initially started with even a stint, or in the middle of it, you also had a stint in Microsoft as a product manager for SEO. And currently you're in HubSpot leading the technical SEO game that they have going on there. I would love for you to sort of break down your career in SEO the past 10 years, where you started and how you ended up in HubSpot.
So again, thank you for having me here. It is a pleasure. So SEO started with me when I saw the need for me to understand how people find businesses, their services, their products that they buy and use online. Since I've always had this technical background, even before I was SEO, I've always been working with the web, even when we had modems that you had to dial to get connected. So coming to SEO was a very natural journey for me. So picking up from that background of being a programmer and working with the internet since the very beginnings, I found a passion for SEO because like I like to say, search or life is a search journey. We are always searching for something at any given time. And once we get what we want, we embark into another search journey. So that's what I like about SEO because you get to know what are people wants, what are people's needs, and you get to deliver those to them through the discoverability of products and services. So that's how I came to be an SEO, and then I was lucky enough to join Amsive and the very well known Lily Ray. She was my boss and mentor for several years. I got to work with her and her team for with so many Fortune 100 companies and even local SEO companies, and doing a lot of technical SEO and citing work. Um, so I really cut my teeth there. So after that, I was able to get into AI because I've been following AI since 2014, 15, since the birth of DeepMind, which is now called Google DeepMind, and then the birth of OpenAI, which was around 2015. In fact, in one of those years, even before they were world famous as they are right now, Greg Brockman was searching for people to do evaluation on early models that they had. And I was one of those people they reach out to do some evaluations on some of their models.
It's
So
very cool. What kind of evaluations did you do, actually? Sorry to interrupt. Very
no, it's
curious.
fine. So we were evaluating the outputs of an early model they had, even before I don't remember the name of the model, but it was a model that came before the Instruct LM model that was a precursor to the GPT-1 model that they released and got the first broad coverage for. So it was just evaluating the outputs of the model, if it makes sense or not, and giving thumbs up or thumbs down. So that was around, I think, 2016, late 2016, early 2017. I can't pinpoint the date, but yeah, I've been following the field for quite a bit. And so when AI came to be of so much broad use, I already had an understanding. And that's when I did the pivot from not just focusing on SEO, but focusing on the implications of AI in search and AI in SEO. And as I understood both things so completely, I always knew there was a bridge connecting one to the other. And SEO is just the stepstone from where AI is getting built.
That's nice. That's nice to know. Like that you've been there from its infancy, and like you basically have tested models before. And I'm assuming you did that with the SEO lens as well. So what were some of maybe the initial tasks that you were testing? Was it like, classifying keywords? Like what were you doing? Like what sort of modeling even?
So the model they had back then it was just very basic. It was just us trying to say if the sentence made sense, like if we had the right structure where you will have a subject and a verb and a predicate. So it wasn't nothing like we have right now. So it was a very limited test in breadth into what are the applications. Most of it was if you had a question, did the answer make sense? And was it constructed in a way that people will understand?
You currently started your new role as AI SEO lead, if I'm not mistaken, in HubSpot, and it's a huge content marketing platform. Everyone's familiar with their content whenever they Google anything related to digital marketing. It's usually ranking on the first page of Google. What I would like to know is actually, what are you currently focusing on? Like, what is the strategy to sort of like restructure such large amount of, content for LLMs? Maybe you can share some things that you're working on and how your strategy has changed.
So the good thing about what I do every day is that most of things stay the same for the most part. Basically, uh, and historically, what has worked on technical SEO for traditional search is also working for SEO and what we call AEO in HubSpot.
Is that also
Also,
sorry to interrupt, that's your preferred term of use? Because there's AEO, GEO, AIO. So you personally endorse AEO, answer engine optimization.
we call them a answer. Yes, we call them AEO. And so the day to day is ensuring that our content that our amazing teammates put out every day is parsable and understandable by search engine crawlers and also the new LLM crawlers. So we try to, or I try to, first we are in this new era of discovery, so we do a lot of investigation, testing, and hypothesis formulation. Then we then go out to test to see what works, what doesn't. One sample of this is trying to understand which LLMs render a JavaScript and which one don't. So that's something that I try to do on my day to day. Have these ideas that have traditionally worked on traditional search, and then try to have them work again in for ChatGPT,
Nice.
Claude, and others.
So you're experimenting. Half is sort of doing the housekeeping of technical SEO tasks, frameworks that have worked. And then the other half of your day is experimenting with new things and seeing if it works to help. And I'm assuming with how you play around with structured content, with the schema markup, with the structured data, sorry, and schema markup to see how that appears on the LLMs. I also wanted to talk about how you recently wrote a piece for a search engine journal called The Great Decoupling of Search, which is a great title, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, and you say how being found no longer equates to being visited. So we're sort of reshaping the AIs, the LLMs, these chatbots are reshaping usability, the user behavior of searches. So I would like you to maybe share more about how this affects content publishers and actually the user behavior. Like how are people then accessing their content? And maybe you can explain how you came about with the concept for this article.
Sounds good. So I studied economics, and there's this person who had been speaking about the separation of productivity and how many employees and or how many people are working in the economy, and they called that the Great Decoupling as well a long time ago. So I saw. And I didn't connect the two at the time that I named this the Great Decoupling. I just saw the two lines that we understand so well, right? If you get 100 impressions, you probably will get 27 clicks if you are on position one. So I saw that no longer working at the same rate as they used to. So my mind just went to the Great Decoupling and the Great Decoupling of search. And then I understood why that came about is because of my economics background. So that's for the Great Decoupling origin, right? Now, the other question you did, which is what people need to do right to get to be discoverable, and what are the implications of this things. Even though you may no longer be visited because you put out content, that does not mean that your influence stops or the permanence of your brand stops, because your ideas, your experiences, your products and services are unique to you. And even if you have LLMs gathering and summarizing your ideas and what you do and your opinions, what you put out there, some of them are still going to quote you, and you have the chances of being quoted and being referred to a potential client. Whereas if you stop putting content out there just because you no longer get as many visits as before, you remove yourself from those chances and that opportunity from not only having your brand being seen for the first time, perhaps in a positive way, or um, or being or getting the reference and the visit, however fewer it is now, if you don't put the content out there. So it is still very important to put your ideas, thoughts, services, products out there on the internet.
Nice. Continuing to produce and producing, I'm assuming, different kinds of content as well, right? Not just limiting yourself to blog posts. Do you have any comments on how the new SEO strategy is sort of like a PR strategy as well, where having your voice heard in many different platforms on all marketing channels so that you increase your chances of being picked up or quoted by these LLMs? Have you had experience with that? Are you including that in during your work in HubSpot?
So absolutely. You will see that some of the content that gets cited a lot on LLMs are content that a have a strong branding potential. So just to go back to HubSpot, because HubSpot is such a massive brand, and what we try to put out there is always of quality and gets a lot of research behind it, a lot of thoughts and collaborations between us. You will see that those kind of contents that are not just supported by the ideas within themselves, but they are supported because we have done the research and we link out to important sources. And then we have a video that speaks about the same thing, and we connect the video to to the blog content, to the piece of content we're putting out there. Or we have an email marketing campaign that has a link that goes back to the content as the centerpiece. You will see that again, like we used to have in traditional SEO, those things still work and work even better because LLMs, in their most basic way of working, they try to summarize what's popular out there. So if you are to publish something and you have that single piece of content being supported by um, other pieces of content outside of the main piece of content itself and pointing back, you're going to see that you have more sources as reference, telling the LLMs and traditional search that this that you produce is of quality. Right?
That's very interesting because and it's essentially citation, right? In traditional, not traditional, but in academia, academics, in the academic world, when you're writing a research paper, citation is very important. So you're citing articles from, journals and stuff like that in order to increase the trust of your research paper. And so I guess in some sort of a way, you're producing the citations for your main content. And
Correct.
why I'm saying this as well is to sort of make a segue into the KPIs or the key metrics that are now relevant to ranking on LLMs. Because as we all know, click-through rates are dropping drastically. We're sort of moving towards a zero-click world when it comes to, your search query, like a zero result SERP trend, right? Like people are not clicking through the results on Google anymore. We're sort of moving towards a trend of just getting what we need from Google's overview. And what I would like to know is actually what metrics then make sense in the AI world, also with AI agents when they start sort of pulling the data to the LLM. So, the end user doesn't even really get to see, the Google search result page or any search result page. What metrics are you currently focusing on?
So as a technical SEO, I care about how many times those bots visit the content we have out there. So crawl logs, looking at the crawl logs, how many which bots visited the content, how many times can tell you so much that can tell you so much that previously it was important, but now it's even more important. And the reason because of the heightened importance is that now you have LLM crawlers coming to your page and reading the content on behalf of a user and bringing that information that you put out there to the user. So if you don't have the clicks, now what you have is a visit from an LLM bot, almost replacing the click, if you will. So how many times a bot, either Google bot or OpenAI search bot, goes to your page, or the Claude AI bot? And let me see another one important. Bing bot, still important because it supplies so much data to third parties crawlers. So
Sorry, what is
that's
the third? Can you repeat that bot?
Bing
The
bot.
B bot. Okay.
Bing bot from Microsoft Bing, from yes, Microsoft Bing.
Bing bot. I heard beep bop, so I was trying to. My apologies. The Bing bot. Yes, of course.
Bing.
Bing. Bing. Yeah, got it.
Mm,
So these crawl logs are very important then. They're sort of your
absolutely.
key performance. They're your KPIs now. How often you get crawled
Yes.
by these LLM bots or these search bots as well. I see. And what kind of are you using any specific analytic tools out there? Or are you using, crawlers? Because you're also a technical SEO person, I'm assuming you make use of tools like Screaming Frog, and I would love for you to share more about your tech stack. But yeah, are you using any new age analytic tools out now in the market, these AI analytic tools, or are you sort of just using your traditional log tools? What is in your current tech stack?
So thanks for asking. I try to use as many as I can. So currently, I use on my day-to-day things like Screaming Frog. That's bread and butter, of course. Also, when I do consulting, I use beyond Screaming Frog. I use Cypol. I use Spotify and all of their stack. For some clients, that when I do consulting outside, I try to use what they have, but mainly those are things like Lumar, right? These enterprise-grade solutions that have analytics, comprehensive analytics for crawling and logs parsing. There's another tool that it is very focused it is very focused on what it does. And it is just to log the crawlers that come to your website. It is called Crawl Console. So I'm testing that. It's got some cool charts in there. I
And what do
use
you
a
kind of
lot of
use? Yeah, sorry, with that crawl console, what parameters are you using to test? How do you know if it's a successful tool or not? How do you sort of vet a tool as well?
so I bet the tool from different standpoints, from privacy, if I can run it on my premises without sending data to other servers and things of this nature. But that depends on the project and the SLA level that they can provide as tool providers. What I try to find is how easy it is to get insights from a tool. So we have several tools out there that are comprehensive but are quite complicated to get the insights that you need in a speedy manner. Um, Hopefully, Screaming Frog has been moving in the right way because they are providing us with so many things that we can use to gather the insights that we need as SEOs based on the crawls, and now having the ability of connecting LLMs to Screaming Frog, and then be able to run custom prompts to analyze the content. That has been a huge helper. So I try to get the tools that give me the best insights. And with Crawl Console, what I get is these very cool graphs that tells me very clearly how many times a page was scrolled by whom. Then we can aggregate this data into very cool graph and tables. So it is just simple, but then it is powerful because you get what you need out of it.
Nice. And that crawl data is very important. And this you then include in your SEO reports to your managers or to sort of show like how well you're doing for LLMs, right? For ranking for LLMs specifically.
So yes, because right now, right, we have something that is replacing the clicks. And what is that something? Well, that something is a visit from a crawler from an LLM service provider. So there should be a relationship. Well, hopefully you can establish a relationship between how many visits you have from an LLM crawler and how many conversions you have, right? Whereas before you will use the number of clicks that you used to get or the number of impressions, which are still very important. Even impressions are more important than ever before because of so many things I can go in depth into.
Maybe you
But
could give your top three reasons why impressions are now the most important metric.
so for Google, right now we get it, well, Google and Bing. So right now we get impressions as the main KPI that you should do a ton of exploring around because you have these search engines and LLM crawlers coming to your site. And then even if without visiting your site, they may reference a link on your site, and that counts as an impression. You might not be getting the CTR that you are used to, right? The high 13%, the high 20% on page one on positions 1 through 3 or feature snippets. But you do get the impressions. Recently, we weren't getting not even those before. So since we're getting the times that our site is getting reference on these AI overviews or being bought chats on top of the SERPs, since we're getting those, then there should be a way for you to tell, well, I had 1,000 impressions over the past 2 days. How many conversions did I get out of these many impressions? So, or how many visits? So it's not just about the click, it's about the impressions and where are they happening, when are they happening, and how are they happening.
So I guess that's also the hard part, right? Where you're sort of trying to piece together that information so that you have that entire customer journey to validate that that your customers are coming through LLMs. And what top tips do you have then for technical SEO specialists out there to build their tracking system? Do you have any top tips?
Crawl data is essential, is just key. Whereas before we might have overlooked if a client had a lot of pushback against providing logs data. Now it is key because that's the only way that you can tell if your efforts are having any impact on these new surfaces, right? On ChatGPT, on Claude, on being bugged. on Copilot. It's just that's the only way that you can tell if they are visiting and accessing your site, or if you're serving any kind of non HTTP 200 errors to these visitors, to your users, right? And I like to say this as well a lot. As technical SEOs, we are PMs of the crawlers, right? Our main users are the search engine and now the LLM crawlers. So uh, we need to deliver features and actions that meet the requirements of those users who are our users as technical SEOs.
They're basically your customer, not the end. I mean, obviously the focus is in the end user, but they're the ones that are basically delivering it for you. So yeah,
Exactly.
keep them nice. I would actually like to move to our rapid fire round. So I have a few questions that are focused on SEO, and I call it rapid fire, but you can give one sentence answers basically to the questions that I will ask you. You don't need to think too much about them. It's whatever comes to your mind first. So are you ready for the rapid fire round?
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Let's get it.
So which is your favorite LLM?
ChatGPT
And do you use LLMs outside of work or just
all the
exclusively?
time,
It's taken
all
over
the
your
time,
life.
all the time. It's okay. I can go in depth, but yes,
Yeah,
all the
go for
time.
it. What is one of your best use case for it personally?
Everything. So we, as intelligent beings, we seek intelligence out there. So if you have anything that can enhance your intelligence, your know-how, that's something amazing. And LLMs have put in the hands of people the average knowledge of the entire world just one prompt away. And that's what's beautiful about it, is that you can know things that you didn't know before with such a very low effort. Whereas before you will have to go out to go out for I don't know how many days or hours to find some information, some types of information, or you will have to spend 4 years going through university to find some kind of information. So now it's very easy. So that's what I love about them, and I use them all the time for that.
Yeah, it's been synthesized in a way where it's so accessible. Anyone can learn anything about everything easily. Whatever's on the internet, you have it.
Exactly.
What's one SEO task you never want to do manually again?
So let me think about this. Hold on.
Not an easy
So
one.
no, not in report making,
Okay, because
and I
you
use Claude for that.
specifically you use Claude specifically only for reports. And why is that? Even though your favorite LLM is ChatGPT.
That's why I doubted a little bit before. Like I hesitated because ChatGPT is great for some things, but then Claude has this design taste that just what you ask it, he puts it out in a very nice UI. You don't get that. Not even now with GPT-5, you don't get that with OpenAI right now.
Wow. So it's not in terms of the quality of the output, but it's just the UI that you
Yes,
like.
beauty
Interesting.
matters. Yeah.
When making reports. And so do you sort of just plug in the crawl data from the tools that you've mentioned initially, or you make your graphs separately and this is just a written data that you add to your graphs for your SEO reports? How does it look? How do you use Claude with the other tools?
So what's amazing of Claude is that you can connect it to anything. You can connect it to databases, sources of data, spreadsheets. You give it a spreadsheet or two or three or four. It will analyze it based on the prompts in your ask, and it will produce a very beautiful, highly visual report with charts and amazing sections and colors schemes that you just don't get that anywhere else. So
Is it?
you just give them a raw, for example, you give it a raw output of your logs analyzer, give it to Claude and ask it, let's create a report charting the visits from all LLM crawlers for the past 7 days. Make me beautiful graphs, and then you will get that. And it will be accurate as well for most of the times with very few hallucinations.
That was going to be my question. Like, yeah, how accurate is it? You know, with graphs, it's a risky thing, right? Sometimes you sort of want to use a singular tool on it, but now I guess you can trust it. You have your cosign on using Claude's graph. Does it
Absolutely.
does it match up to the SEO crawl tool you were talking about earlier? So do you use both of them together?
Oh, so yes. Yes, and it depends. Like it depends what I'm sharing the graph to whom. If it is for an executive, my boss, I try to have it as professional and clean as possible. But if it is to a coworker that I need to drive home a quick point, then I would just screenshot something and just send it their way.
Nice.
So yeah, I use both. It depends what is the use case.
Nice. So you never want to do SEO reports manually again. Claude is your savior. Most overhyped SEO trend in the AI era.
So many. Geo, I'm going to be controversial here, but Geo, I think, or a recent one, chunking, probably content chunking.
Yes, I've seen that mentioned a lot. You know, chunking your content, almost making it in not human friendly. It almost feels like you're cooking a meal and you're making your batch cooking. Yeah, please go into detail about why GEO is overhyped. Because people are also using GEO, and for those of you listening, it's generative engine optimization, and AEO is answer engine optimization. And from what I understand, AEO and GEO is being used interchangeably, but you feel like there's a distinct difference between the two?
So you're gonna put me on the spot here. From what I've seen online, the people who are trying to sell Geo as this totally new way of what has traditionally been known as like I don't agree that we do so many different things like I explained before from what we as SEOs have done for the past, I don't know, 20 years or so. So many things remain. There are some new things, but it's just I don't agree like this person has said before, Dan Petrovic. I don't agree for outsiders who do not have too much knowledge of what the SEO industry entails and what it takes to do a good SEO. I don't agree on others coming out and imposing an acronym that they had no idea, right, if it fits or not. So I think the industry will come around into either deciding if we're going to call it one way or another with our voices being heard from one place and another. I would love for these to be for industry practitioners who make the decision, not just an article that comes outside of the
Right.
industry.
Like you see a lot of LinkedIn posts now with graphs of where GEO is, where SEO is, and sometimes where AEO is, which for me is very confusing. And it's all made up, right? Everyone's sort of an expert now, and everyone's sort of trying to be a thought leader in the space. But I think that's a very healthy view that the industry will shape who, the actual industry experts will set the new terms that we need to use. And your team AEO, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Nice. One AI feature or product you wish existed.
A search console for OpenAI, Claude,
Nice.
and data in Search Console for AI overviews.
Nice. Might be close to that. Once I guess they roll out advertising, this would be the next frontier, right? This sort of data, they'll make it accessible. Most underrated AI use case in SEO right now.
Most underrated AI use case. I think it's not content analysis, but let me think about this. Underrated. the use of GPTs for various tasks. You can create GPTs for, well, this, I'm going to make a pause here. I know this is a one word answer, one
No,
sentence, so I'll
go
stop
for it.
here. So the creation of GPTs for many of the things we do as SEO, so content thinking, keywords grouping. You can do so many things with GPTs, custom GPTs for a specific task, analysis, ideation, create files that they it helps a lot if you know how to use them.
Creating all these GPTs. Next question is favorite tool you didn't expect to love. And I only have three more questions after this. But yeah, what's your favorite tool that you didn't think you were going to love?
That's a good one. So Claude is fun. Claude, I had,
For the reports, for the beautiful reports.
yeah, I did not expect it to be as good as it is.
Nice. And AI agents, overkill or overdue?
Overdue.
Nice. They're here. They're here to stay. And would you build or buy your own AI workflows?
Built. I'm a builder.
And are you currently building AI workflows as we speak? Anything you want to share?
So let's start tiny with CPTs, right? Taking the outputs out of all the tools that you get out there that you already have access to, and try to use the outputs from those tools and convert it using GPTs into something better, actionable, or shareable.
And do you have any real world examples of how you're doing this?
Again, just using Claude to create reports is a cheat sheet. Yeah.
Nice. Love that. And very accessible because everyone has to make those SEO reports all the time for all the different stakeholders. So it's a time saver. Last but not least, what's one word you would describe the future of SEO?
Relevant.
Relevant. I love that. And actually, I would like to get your insight. So that's the end of the rapid fire round, but I would love to actually get your thoughts on where you think, the future of AEO is headed. What are your thoughts on where it's headed, let's say in the next 6 months to 2 years to then like 5, 10 years? It's quite wide, but you can maybe short term, midterm, and long term take on where it's headed.
So I said relevant, SEO relevant or AEO relevant, because search is something fundamental of all beings, either organic or artificial beings. Right? We have organic beings, which are animals and us, right? Humans. We need to do search. We search for things. That is a need. Artificial beings, LLMs and applications, they also need to find things to do the things they were designed for or as of them. They need to search. Since search remains something very basic, very relevant, then the principles of SEO remains as much. You need to understand what makes things findable, discoverable more than ever so you can compete with other people outside. If you're going to have, if you expect your business to endure and to perdure this era of intelligence, then search is just basic and fundamental, and no one's knows search like an SEO.
I like how you've made the analogy of like the ecosystem of like discoverability and also, yeah, bringing it back to how we exist in the world. Very, very nice way of describing it. Thank you so much for your time, Darwin. I would like to ask you to share with the people how can they get in touch with you? What are you currently working on? Obviously, you have a very busy role in HubSpot, but yeah, feel free to share with the people what you're working on and how they can reach out to you.
So I'm very active on X, x.com at Darwin Santos NYC on LinkedIn. And then I'm also available through my small startup that we are working into integrating AI for e-commerce. We have been working there for now 3 years, and it's called Add to Cart AI. So I'm available there. I also work in integrating AI workflows for any industry, any vertical. So it's just trying to get AI and all the processes, bring intelligence into them by using different methods that we know how to do.
Love it. Yeah, that's it. Actually, now that you talked about AI workflows, I feel like I could have asked you a few more questions about AI workflows because you were very generous to share how you create your SEO reports to save time. And do you have any other AI workflows that you would like to share, like use cases of something that you've built? Because I feel like this will tie into what you're offering as well when you're saying that you love to create like help companies create these AI workflows. So maybe you can share some of the workflows that you've built.
So one of the things I've built, for example, I use the MCP that Href provided. And with this MCP, I ask for data on a batch of URLs at a time. Like I need to understand what was the performance or the number of backlinks or the number of crawl errors that a batch of URLs had. Instead of just opening the page and going through the menus, I go and ask Href through Claude, I need this data for this batch of URLs. And then Href will go and with the MCP connection, give me what I need. So that is one very specific use case that can save you a ton of time instead of you going around and clicking through all the menus.
And do you have any advice then for people who are, because you said previously as well that you are a builder, so you love to tinker about and create these workflows. You're making use of all these MCP providers, and I'm assuming is your favorite then, not make.com. Is that safe to assume?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part of the question.
Sorry, I just, it was a bit of a loaded question from my side, actually. I wanted to ask, is any and then your favorite MCP tool over make.com? Do you do a lot of experimentation with that tool?
So I haven't used May.com that much, but I know it. And what I use is NAN. NAN I use a lot. I try to use the connectors on Claude that they've released recently. So I use that a lot. And most recently, I'm trying to build to be with the MCP connector that they just released around 2 weeks ago. So things are
Right.
moving fast, and there's a lot of opportunity to create with your favorite tools through MCP.
And what advice do you have for people that might not be as technically inclined? Like how, because everyone says, oh, it's so easy, it's so accessible. But I feel like unless you have a bit of a coding background or you're not afraid of a bit of code, you understand, site architecture and also like how apps are sort of made, like that workflow, then it's obviously easy to you. But so maybe you could maybe you could share some advice to SEOs on how they can kind of get familiarized with the tool and like get, how can they get the most benefit from it?
So do not be afraid to ask questions to the LLMs themselves on how to do things. I do a ton of research and learning just by asking ChatGPT and Claude to go out and teach me what I don't know. Because I don't know something, I might start very basic, but then with the information they bring me, since I stay curious, I just take that information and transform it into something that I can know enough to do something.
I see.
So stay curious and don't be afraid to ask these amazing tools that can teach you new things if you keep asking.
Ask them to build your workflow and then you try to build it out yourself. But they're giving you the bones of it. So that's great. Thank you so much, Darwin. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you wanted to talk about? Or do you
Oh
think we've
no, I think it was thorough.
thorough? Yeah, my bad. I had a lot of questions, but thank you so
Oh,
much
no,
for your
no,
time.
no. Not in a bad way. I really like